instructions provided by the
fucking with my
monitoring or
phone, he's shutting my
authentication
phone off,
service. As part of that process,
attacking
I was instructed to
everything.
provide copies of highly
Civilians,
sensitive documents, including my social
fucking
security card, birth certificate, driver's
Thank
license,
God.
credit reports, and a police report. On or about August 6, 2016, I filed an identity theft or fraud report with the Moreno Valley Police Department. I mailed the requested documents, but did not receive meaningful confirmation explaining whether the materials had been received, reviewed, secured, or incorporated into an investigation. Because the submitted package contained nearly everything necessary to impersonate me, the handling and destination of those documents should be verified. Relevant records should include the mailing address provided to me, delivery information, correspondence, intake logs, document images, employee access records, and the final disposition of equipment. I later experienced repeated difficulty accessing the monitoring systems that were supposed to help protect me. Password resets and identity verification attempts did not consistently restore access. This created a troubling situation in which I could not reliably enter or control the services holding information about my own identity. These access failures do not, by themselves, prove that another person controlled the accounts. They do, however, justify a review of access logs, password changes, recovery methods, telephone numbers, email addresses, authentication events, and identity verification decisions, additional retirement, and identity monitoring access concerns. I also have a retirement or pension benefit associated with my prior membership and employment through the Carpenters Union. I have been unable to reliably access or verify my retirement account because I have experienced suspected identity theft, unauthorized financial activity, address changes, missing correspondence, and loss of access to other accounts. I am concerned that the status and security of this retirement benefit should be independently reviewed. I do not presently know whether the difficulty is the result of ordinary administrative requirements, outdated contact information, identity verification problems, an account restriction, or unauthorized activity. I am not alleging that the Carpenters Union or retirement plan administrator participated in wrongdoing. I am requesting confirmation that the account remains intact, that no unauthorized distributions or changes have occurred, and that all identifying and beneficiary information is accurate. The retirement plan investigation should include my complete participant history, vested benefit information, contribution records, account balances, employment credits, mailing addresses, telephone numbers, email addresses, beneficiary designations, identity verification records, online access history, password resets, correspondence, returned mail, distribution requests, loans, rollovers, withdrawals, tax forms, and any changes made to the account. The review should also determine whether anyone attempted to request benefits, change my contact information, alter beneficiaries, or access the account using my identity. I have experienced similar access problems involving the OPM-sponsored identity and credit monitoring services provided after the federal personal data breaches. Those services were intended to help me detect and respond to possible misuse of my personal information. After arriving in Nevada, I received correspondence containing a new password or instructions intended to restore my access. However, the paperwork appeared to treat me as though I needed to apply or enroll as a new recipient, rather than regain access to an existing protection account. I was unable to determine whether my original enrollment remained active, whether a replacement account had been created, or whether my account information had been changed. Because of continuing communication problems, reported call interference, unstable housing, missing paperwork, and difficulty completing identity verification procedures, I have not been able to reliably review credit alerts, determine whether additional accounts were opened in my name, or confirm whether fraud occurred during the periods when I could not access the monitoring service. I recall that the OPM-sponsored protection included a substantial amount of identity theft insurance, possibly as much as approximately $5 million. The exact amount, policy terms, coverage dates, eligibility requirements, claim procedures, and identity of the insurer or monitoring contractor should be confirmed through the original notices and official program records. A complete review should determine whether my monitoring enrollment remained active, whether coverage expired or was transferred, whether anyone changed my email address, telephone number, mailing address, password, recovery information, or authentication settings, and whether fraud alerts or identity theft events were generated while I could not access the account. Relevant records should include the original OPM notices, enrollment confirmation, insurance certificate, policy documents, password reset history, account access logs, authentication records, mailing history, telephone contacts, customer service recordings, fraud alerts, credit report activity, account changes, claim inquiries, and any records showing that I was required to re-enroll. I believe that repeated loss of access to the retirement account and the identity monitoring service may have prevented me from discovering or responding to unauthorized activity. However, I cannot presently establish whether another person intentionally interfered with these services. The cause should remain open pending review of the underlying records. The immediate purpose of the investigation is to restore my lawful access, verify that my retirement benefits and identity protection coverage remain intact, identify any unauthorized changes or transactions, and preserve records concerning possible misuse of my personal information. Wells Fargo irregularities. Beginning as early as 2015 and becoming more pronounced between approximately 2016 and 2019, I observed what I describe as a slow burn pattern of financial irregularities involving my Wells Fargo accounts. The problems included transactions I could not readily explain, inconsistencies in account information, delayed or missing correspondence, administrative confusion, and difficulty reconciling available balances and records. Any single incident might be explained as an ordinary banking error. My concern arises from the repetition of similar problems over several years and their occurrence during the same period in which I was receiving identity theft alerts. A proper investigation should obtain complete statements rather than relying only on the records available through my current online access. It should also examine internal account notes, fraud reports, ACH records, teller activity, telephone contacts, address changes, linked accounts, online access logs, devices, IP addresses, authentication changes, and any records removed from the customer-facing account history, family, estate, and property concerns. Beginning during the same general period, I also developed concerns involving family estates, inherited property, deeds, and missing or inaccessible assets. I believe some inherited assets may have been diverted or transferred without proper authority. I have also questioned whether property deeds or estate records were altered, withheld, or processed without adequate notice. These concerns involve separate legal and factual issues and should not automatically be attributed to the banking incidents. However, identity theft can be used to alter addresses, impersonate heirs, obtain records, redirect correspondence, or execute unauthorized transactions. For that reason, the estate and property records should be compared with the financial and identity records. The necessary review should include probate filings, recorded deeds, notarizations, mailing addresses, signatures, identification used during transfers, beneficiary information, disbursement records, and communications involving family property. Related family events. During approximately 2014, my daughter Summer disclosed an assault in Santa Barbara. She later became involved in legal proceedings that I believe were mishandled or insufficiently explained. During those proceedings, I observed an officer who appeared similar to an officer I remembered from earlier law enforcement encounters in the high desert. I described that individual as a tall white male with blonde mullet-style hair who sometimes appeared with a shorter, heavier partner. This is a personal visual observation and has not been confirmed through personnel records, photographs, body camera footage, court records, or officer assignment information. It should therefore be treated as an identification concern requiring verification, not as a confirmed identification. Summer later entered the United States Navy. The last time I recall seeing her in person was at a family memorial